Good evening, everybody in India. Good morning, very early morning, those in California, and good morning, early morning in the East Coast. Welcome. This is Neha's alerted me. This is the 17th edition of Capital Conversations we are doing, and it's on the 17th. I don't know what that means. I think it means something. That's what she's telling me. And we have a very curious team today with us. They are the Curious Cardinals. Isn't that the football team in Stanford? Cardinals, right?
We're the trees, but our color, we're cardinal red.
Right. I know. I've been to the field, right? Because we live down the road. So, yeah. So Curious Cardinals, that's the name of the company. And the three people you're seeing on the screen, Audrey Wisch, Alec Katz, and Ashwin Reddy. I know in India we say Ashwin.
I say Ashwin.
You say Ashwin? Okay, in America it's Ashwin. Because I have a cousin in America, he goes by Ashwin and not Ashwin, right? So I know it.
No, that's fine. I'm pretty unapologetic about the Indian pronunciation. If you could say it, Ashwin would be great.
All right, cool, Ashwin. So these three are key members. Audrey and Alec are the co-founders, and Ashwin is the star teacher on this team. Curious Cardinals are a startup, and they coach, they teach, they tutor middle school and high school children. I don't know where those children are. They'll tell us, but they're all children. It's just a startup. And in Brand Capital, we really like EdTech, online education and teaching and tutoring and courses and all of it. So it is a vertical that Brand Capital has a big affinity for, and we've done, I think, more than 20 deals in this, from small companies all the way to the largest. I mean, Byju's is about $12 billion in valuation, something like it today. So we've done a lot of deals. We know the space very well, and I thought it'll be a wonderful idea to bring a new team from California that is entering EdTech in their own way. They started Tutoring, and then they have migrated over during COVID period into purely a tech-based platform, and then I don't know what else they're gonna innovate from here. So that's the team, that's the company, and I'm going to start with the questions. Is it all right, guys? Okay, first question. Tell us a little bit about yourselves, each of you. Audrey, Alec, Ashwin. Tell us about yourself. Audrey, I know the most extroverted Wisch. I know Audrey's family for 20 years now, a little over 20 years. So I know I heard about her the day she was born, and then so I know Audrey from then. And then Alec and Ashwin are all classmates. So I know a little bit about Audrey, MVP athlete, fluent Spanish speaker and all of it. A little bit about Alec, I've got to know now. Pilot, soccer, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, souls to Senegal, all of it. Lots to know about you. Ashwin, 4-0, that's dear to me. I love it. If I had a son or daughter, that number will be music to my ears. I love that. As a boy from an Indian family, I'm sure that must be music to your mommy and daddy, right? 4-0. 4-0 in Stanford. I love it. And I just get a big smile when I hear 4-0. And a budding Christian Bernard, right? A doctor, pre-med, going on to become, I don't know what, surgeon. I don't know what you're going to do. Tell us about it. And health work in Haiti. This is what I know. But now over to you guys. Take some time. Tell us about yourselves. Call me Sammy, all right?
Thank you so much, Sammy, for having us on your show. We're so honored. So my name's Audrey. I'm a rising sophomore at Stanford. I went to high school in New York City, where I was captain of the track and cross country team and president of the debate team. And I was also head of my school's volunteer organization in Harlem, where we played sports with and read books to the underserved younger children in Harlem. So in high school, I had a lot of leadership roles that enabled me to establish mentor-type relationships with younger students that I really value dearly. I also tutored at this organization in Harlem. I'm pursuing a major in history and double minoring in education and gender studies at Stanford. I regularly volunteer with ABLA, so does Ashwin, which is an organization that pairs students with members of the Spanish-speaking janitorial staff to teach them English. I'm also a member of the ABLA Legal Fellowship, which is a fellowship, a cohort of students passionate about the law. We applied for this program to help workers with knowing their legal rights. And I'm part of the Humanities Research Intensive cohort at Stanford. This summer, I won a grant to do research for a history professor, which I'm very excited about. And I'm also alongside teaching, tutoring, and running Curious Cardinals, which we are excited to tell you more about today.
I think you guys at the end of this intro, you're going to really upset a lot of children of my colleagues listening to this. They're probably going to go back home and play this tape and ask their children to take all those boxes. So go on with it. Okay, Alex Ashwin, tell us.
Thank you, Sammy. So for a little background on myself, I am a rising sophomore majoring in aerospace engineering and minoring in computer science at Stanford. I went to high school.
Just minor. Okay.
Sorry.
I'm checking. Just minor in computer science, right? It's just a
minor.
Just a minor. All right.
I went to high school in Los Angeles at a school called Harvard Westlake, where I participated in extracurricular activities, as you said, ranging from aviation and piloting to soccer. I was very passionate about social entrepreneurship. So in my junior year of high school, I applied for a fellowship and won $8,000 to start a company called Souls for Good, which is a social micro enterprise that sources and provides shoes to Senegal's street youth. At Souls for Good, I collected several thousand shoes, shipped them to Senegal, negotiated freight and import tariff rates, contacted the US Chamber of Commerce, and met with Senegalese government officials to obtain business permits. Before starting Souls for Good, I went to Bangladesh to learn more about microfinance, one of my passions. So I interned at Mohammed Yunus's Grameen Bank.
You went to Bangladesh from Los Angeles?
I did, yes.
Okay. I've not been to Bangladesh.
I read Banker to the Poor by Mohammed Yunus, and I was fascinated by his model. And so I looked at international internships, which I did. I'm also fascinated by airplanes. So I received my pilot license after studying the physics of flight at UCLA's Plasma Physics Lab. Passionate about soccer, I played for the LA Galaxy youth team when I was younger and led my high school soccer team as the captain.
Did you meet Beckham?
Yeah, I did meet Beckham actually a while back.
Nice.
At Stanford, I was recently selected by engineers from NASA Ames Research Center as the winner of a design competition in my How to Build a Space Mission class. And I'm now conducting research for Stanford's GPS lab, and I've presented my research to Lockheed Martin and the US military.
Wow.
I'm one of the only, I'm one of the only undergraduate students working at the GPS lab, which is very fun entrepreneurial culture, where I work directly with two professors. This summer, I'm working remotely for Paradise Games, which is a gaming and e-learning company in the Ivory Coast, with Stanford's Graduate School of Business, where I'll make trade studies on how to diversify and expand the company. I'm currently working with them to create an ed tech platform as I run Curious Cardinals. I'm doing this while also co-founding Curious Cardinals, where I get to use physics, science, math, and computer science as a way to inspire high schoolers and teach them to aim high and that the sky is the limit.
Love it, love it, love it. Ashwin, tell us.
Yeah, so thank you so
Tell
much.
us how we go to 4-0. Tell us.
Well, so I mean, I am a pre-med student. I'm an aspiring physician, and I will let you know for the schools that I would aim to get admission at. I think you do need to set yourself out with your GPA. So it wasn't really, I think it was definitely, I think there's how I was raised, and for sure that just like you said, I think within like Indian families, I think education is so really valued, and that's definitely something that is a draw for me, especially in this Curious Cardinals platform. But yeah, I just had to do it, so I did what I did. But yeah, so I majored in human biology and I minored in modern languages. And what that means is I took extensive coursework in Spanish and also Hindi at Stanford. And like you had mentioned, I am planning on going to medical school. So I'd say issues that I really care about are health and also education. Within this health context at Stanford, I spent a lot of time at a student-run free clinic interpreting in Spanish, also saw patients who were from India, so speaking in Hindi and Telugu with them as well. I started a club called Stanford Alzheimer's Alliance at Stanford, where we pair undergraduate students with residents at a local health center. People who are experiencing dementia often feel a lot of social isolation. So our whole goal was to kind of deconstruct that barrier and to have these individuals be introduced to companionship and to get that social stimulation. Also, I was the sole undergraduate patient recruiter for the Stanford School of Medicine. And during after my sophomore year of undergrad, I actually came to North India to do a research project. I looked at a lot of public health facilities in Uttar Pradesh, and we went looking at their emergency care capacity for neonates and when they're making decisions about transporting babies from hospitals, how they're doing that process. And within the education type of bubble, I've done a lot of teaching. Honestly, since high school, probably 7-8 years now of doing teaching. At Stanford, I've, most recently, I taught one of the highest enrolled courses, human behavioral biology. Actually, Audrey was one of my students, which was pretty awesome. She's a great student as well. And I...
Did she get an A in that class?
Okay, so it's pass and fail now because of the pandemic, but she would have gotten an A. I know her raw score, and she would have gotten an A. She's a top scholar. Yeah. So yeah, with addition to teaching this class, I was also student advisor within my major department. Like Audrey mentioned, I worked to tutor English to Stanford custodial staff as well. And I was a chemistry tutor at Stanford. And actually I received an award from the Stanford biology department for being the best undergraduate researcher or course assistant who's dedicated to life and science education. So I think Curious Cardinals is definitely a platform where I can continue to share my passion and interest in the sciences with students and really be able to, like Audrey was mentioning, just revitalize just what we're doing online as well.
Outstanding. I did want to take a little bit of time to let you guys tell about yourself, because it's just hearing that is uplifting for everybody. And it's important to know where your story began. And I think part of that answer lies in who you are, which is why I thought it was important to hear. Tell us a little bit now about your cause. I know you all want to give back to the community, be involved with the community in a very, very deep-rooted grassroots way, and I can hear that in the activities that you've done in your schooling and now in your university, and not just your own local community. As far as Cote d'Ivoire and Haiti and Uttar Pradesh and Hispanic people, helping them with their asylum applications. I mean, these are pretty far out there, right? They're not right in your small community of Upper East Side or Malibu or whatever, or a Squirrel Hill in Pittsburgh or something of that nature. It's a little bit out far away, which is really admirable. Beyond that aspect of giving back to your community and being involved with it, is there some other deeper cause, deeper reason why you started Curious Cardinals? Or is it just to create the next unicorn? I mean, tell us, why did you go about doing this? What's the reason?
So as we were talking about our mission and our purpose, we were thinking passion, purpose, accessibility, equity, and mentorship. These are the tenets of our program. And in terms of passion, I mean that we see children in the US very often participating in extracurriculars, not out of a genuine interest, but within hopes of improving their college resume. And we all have been fortunate enough to find passionates that we can pursue wholeheartedly with genuine interests and then go on to pursue amazing things in our respective fields. So we hope to expose students to subjects they don't ordinarily study in the classroom and spark genuine passions in them. By purpose, once a student has a passion, hopefully we can expose them to material they might not cover otherwise, or give them the depth and maturity of content that that high schoolers or middle school teachers don't think they're capable of. So we want to push them. And then with purpose, we want a student to have this passion that wakes them up in the morning, gets them excited, but we want students to also see tangible outcomes with their learning and passions. For example, in my mass incarceration class, throughout 10 sessions, we have seven guests, one of which we have ranging from Harvard law professor Randall Kennedy to Yale, to another Stanford law professor, to a lawyer, to someone who was previously incarcerated, to Yale and Stanford students coming involved in clubs revolving around prison reform to tell us what they're doing. I want them to see students not too far in age from them going out and doing amazing things, and empower them with the agency to go do things themselves, to get involved, to find the thing that excites them. Like you said, we all have very niche interests and have done things that are generally pretty unconventional. And we want students to go out and do the same and come from a genuine place of love for the thing that makes them excited in every day. Alec will expand more upon our mentorship program.
Yeah, I'm extremely passionate about the Curious Cardinals mentoring program. I believe that every student should have a mentor close in age, similar in interest, and passionate about similar subjects that they can look up to. In high school, it was very difficult to listen to members in my family telling me what to do in terms of extracurriculars. It's very college oriented. And I really wish I had an older student passionate about similar subjects help guide me throughout my education. We are currently working on expanding our team of mentors with very unique and personal teachers from Stanford and other top Ivy League schools. These mentors work with students of all ages and backgrounds to help them design their own unique curriculum. Whether they're interested in math, sports, gaming, or dance, our mentors will assign readings and design problems and projects that will supplement their conventional learning. So by the end of your high school career, I think everyone should have a portfolio of interdisciplinary deliverables, ranging from articles to math projects, art projects, and even scientific experiments that supplement your learning.
So your programs are not about just teaching basic subjects like mathematics, chemistry, biology, physics, and things of that nature. Yours is a bit more tailored to the things that they don't particularly learn in class sessions. Is that correct? Give us some examples. You did say something on mass incarceration. Think like a pre-med, chemistry in the kitchen, right? I mean, tell us a little bit about the classes you teach, and we want to know, because in India, EdTech and tutoring is huge business. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Practically every kid has school lessons and then after-school lessons, right? And then parents, in some cases, spend as much, if not more money on these things than they do in school. But it's not about the lessons they learn are the subjects, the same subjects, albeit in a different format, to give them experiential training, AI, VR, things like it, some cases more problem-solving experience and all of it, to prepare them to go to university. That is the main focus of India's EdTech and things of that nature. But I've not heard these things where you teach them something different than the core subjects themselves. Tell us why. Tell us what place does it have in the development of these children? Is it appreciated by parents? Are they willing to pay for it? Are employers and universities looking for it when they admit them? How does it work?
First of all, we started Curious Cardinals. Curious Cardinals emerged out of the pandemic, out of being on lockdown and being at our computers at home. I started tutoring a few families. I told them the subjects I'm most passionate about. And a parent asked me, oh, can you tutor my 7th grade daughter in math as well? And I said, yes, I'm qualified to tutor her in math, but why would I teach her in a subject that I'm not crazy enthusiastic about? I think that is the biggest part of the process, seeing my face light up when I talk about the topic I'm teaching them, and teaching them with authentic, genuine love for the subject. So I reached out to Alec, who loves math, raves about math, gets that excitement in his eyes when you talk about math, to introduce him to this girl to teach her math. And the same thing happened with biology. Someone said, can you tutor in biology? I'm capable, but why would I tutor when I have Ashwin, who's amazing teacher, so much love for biology, and would love to share with you. So from the start, we realized how meaningful it is for us as college students, not too far in age from these high schoolers and middle schoolers, to share our passions for these respective topics with younger students. They see the way our faces light up, and they see the way we talk with extra excitement, and that's the passion is contagious in that case. So we all happen to have pretty individualized topics that interest us, that excite us. So to teach students these, we regard them with more maturity and then deem them as older than maybe their high school or middle school teachers do. We've noticed while teaching that students are capable of so much more than their classroom teachers assign them. So why can't we give them more? We've seen them. Alec got a girl a year ahead in math. I have a girl writing like she's 3 years older than she is. Ashwin, we're all getting these students way ahead by giving them less conventional learning problems and styles, and it's very exciting to teach them super niche topics. I also think students are taking our classes as supplementary or accelerated learnings, particularly in high school. So it's exciting for them to take a class that their high school doesn't offer. And that's what we plan to do. We offer more college level classes for high schoolers and cater to high schoolers. We remember that learning the subject or topic itself, so we can make it more palatable for the student to learn. And there's something about seeing us acquire a mastery over these respective topics, not too far ahead of them in terms of age, that makes it inspiring and more plausible for them, I think, which is part of that mutual engagement and contagious passion that we hope to share and foster at Curious Cardinals.
It's more like talking with them than talking at them, right? Because you guys are not so far apart. I tend to, my own personal experience, when I was a youngster, I did want to learn certain things from people much older than me, but certain things, people my own age group or a little bit around my age, what they told and what experiences that they had, that stayed in my mind. I think that's an important thing. But still, I want to dig a little deeper on the point that if I go out and ask one of the companies in India to teach these kind of lessons, they'll first ask me, what's the purpose? What's the use? What's the need? Why should they know it, right? You see where I'm going? How do you monetize this knowledge, right? And that's the question I'll get asked here. How does that work, Ashwin, in the United States, in that context? Do universities appreciate if a child had gone through this kind of learning in school? Does that help them get ahead in their application to the university, win a scholarship? Is the investment of time and money by a parent in Curious Cardinals for their child, can it be monetized within a reasonable period of time in some measurable way? Tell us.
So I will probably have to defer for Alec for the monetization, but what I can certainly say for sure is when you're applying to schools like Stanford, like Harvard, like these top schools, or just any type of application, it's really important to show that you're dedicated and that you have something that drives you. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to instill that like curiosity with our organization. So you can teach, for example, I'll give an example with my human behavioral bio class. You can tell somebody who has no idea of like how to apply bio about genetics, you can tell them about like neuroscience, but if you're able to say, look, this is the gene that is leading to depression. This is the gene that is causing this or that. Like, and you're able to tie it into something they see in their everyday lives. That's how you get people interested in the topics that they're teaching. But as a high school student in this country, I know, or just like elsewhere, I'm sure this is applicable in India as well. Like it's all syllabus. It's all just delivering content, but not teaching people how to be scholars. So when you're applying to different gigs, that's what they want to see. That not only do you know these skills, but you're able to think critically about what you're learning about. And that's the type of stuff that we want to do. And we want to instill this type of curiosity, this passion within our students, so that moving down the road, they have this motivation and they're able to showcase that to colleges, to whatever they're applying to in the future.
That's remarkable. That's absolutely remarkable. It's basically what you're saying is it's one thing to have the knowledge of something. It's another to contextually understand how that knowledge it happens in real life, where you can observe it, you can see it in other people. If there is some gene that causes something and you observe that behavior in someone, you contextually apply it, and then you can deduce and know the diagnosis, the triage as to what is going on there, right? And perhaps if it is that TV show, right, The Big Bang Theory, you could just be snappy and say that's that gene that's making you say that, or something of that nature, right? But it is, I understand. Alec, how do you communicate when you're going to onboard a student onto this? How do you communicate this to a parent? I don't know. What do they first tell us? What people pay for this? What parents pay to Curious Cardinals to put their kids into this? And then how do you tell them that it makes sense for them to spend the money is one thing, but in my mind, time is probably more valuable, because their kids' time is lost. 1 hour or 1.5 hours of their kids' prime time is lost to Curious Cardinal. When they have tennis practice, lacrosse practice, they have football practice, they have Spanish, they have guitar, they have piano, whatever else they have, and you're taking away that time, taking away the time from the family. How do you sell it to them? How do they get justified?
Yeah, so I'll start with a little bit about the business model and how much we charge, and also the difficulties we have in scaling and making sure we hire the best of the best tutors. So we charge anywhere from $50 to $100 for individual lessons and classes. And I think the biggest difficulty—
$50 per lesson, or per that includes a few lectures?
Per lesson.
Per lesson. Okay.
Yeah. And classes are generally a little cheaper. If it can be anywhere from like $35 per person per hour.
Okay.
And the way we get students and parents, the way we sell our product is that students don't wake up in the morning to study for an exam unless they need to get into a university. But what we can do is spark that passion, the love for learning, that really inspires them, that really gets them excited about learning, and will guide them on a path that will help them find their career and many other things. I remember when I was younger, I had a mentor, someone who was very into—
You're still young, Alec. You're 20, right?
I'm 20, yeah.
So you're still young. Okay,
Yes.
Go ahead. Now, we're older, so I'm just reminding ourselves. So.
Yeah. So I had a mentor when I was younger who was a pilot and a scholar of aviation, and I would have never been introduced to aviation if it hadn't been for him. I would have never studied aerospace engineering in college if it wasn't for him. So to have someone, and you don't learn about piloting or aviation in school, but what I want to do with one of my math classes is teach it in the context of a pilot, the physics of flight, the math behind flight. And all of this math is taught also in school, but out of context. You don't know why you're learning it. And it's a lot of memorization and repetition to learn the material. It's not for students to really enjoy it and understand why they're learning it. You're not taught projectile motion and many physics concepts like that when you're taught about parabolas, which I think you really should be. As soon as you're introduced to the math, you should be introduced to the physics. So yeah, and then also to answer your question about scalability, that's been one of our biggest difficulties because we're so selective with our tutors and teachers, and we have such a rigorous, long process to onboard a teacher that we want to make sure we have the best of the best. But we're currently working on making a platform of all the mentors we have and find unique students, not just great at a subject, but very unique. The best chess player, for example, the best whatever it is, that they're very unique. And I think colleges really like when you're the best at something, they see that you really enjoy something and you're not just doing it for an end goal. So yeah, I guess to answer the scalability question, we're working really hard right now to filter the best of the best. And everyone's unique. I think everyone should design their own education, have their own curriculum, and they should be paired with similar teachers who they look up to, similar in age, with similar passions. And so if we have a database of the best college students with very unique passions that can inspire younger students with similar passions, that's how I learn the best, and I want to share my passions with younger students as well.
Powerful. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd also like to respond to something that you said earlier too. Like, why would these parents want to? You said that this is an hour lost, right? For having them spend time with Curious Cardinals. One, I think for India, like I know from my parents' upbringing, like this idea of tuition, this idea of more classes after school, I think it's not uncommon. Also, I think that what we've noticed with our parents is that they absolutely love our program. And I mean, I don't interface with them directly. So I think Audrey and Alec can give you these testimonials. I only interface with the parents of the children I'm working with. But I know when I onboarded like this girl who I'm doing private like biology and chemistry sessions with, like it was only supposed to be for 1 month, but now her mom and this girl are like, no, Ashwin, we need you like throughout the school year. We love this so much. Like that's the thing. That's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to attract students who have an interest in the subject, and we're trying to show them that they should become invested in this and continue with this throughout time and develop within these fields. And I think rather than thinking of these as hours lost, it's an investment. Because what we're doing is we're generating them to think more critically about these fields and to apply that moving forward. So I definitely don't think it should be framed as an hour lost. It's an hour invested.
Thank you for that.
I totally respect that. I didn't mean the word lost, an hour. I get the word invested. It might have come across the wrong way, but it's sort of like, I mean, I'm an uncle of 7 nephews and nieces, and all of them are in the United States. 3 of them, one is a freshman in college, and then one is 14 months old, right? So that's the spread, and 3 of them are in school, 4 of them are in middle school and high school. And I know that their evenings, their after school hours and their weekends are so packed. They are so packed. And they all go to schools like you all did. They pack their day, they pack their evening. For me to get an hour or 45 minutes a week to just talk to them on FaceTime, I have to schedule it in as an uncle. It's not easy. It's not so much. It's not so much just the money. It is the time, investment of time, and they should see the value. And it's from that perspective that I asked that question. But I can understand.
I can say something about a student. The girl I started with first, my first client, her mom had to convince her at first. Her mom said, come on, please try this out. I promise you'll enjoy it. Now her mom calls me and said, you know, my daughter cancels play dates because she has Audrey set in her schedule. So now I'm a priority over play dates. So I'm very happy about that. But we really, these students really enjoy the sessions. And as we were saying, we all have other research and internship positions right now. So it hasn't been a full-time commitment yet. So we haven't been able to market as much as we wanted to, and we are expanding every day because of referrals. Everyone who's worked with us says we have, especially having 7th and 8th grade parents, they say, can you please work with our student till they graduate, please? And the referrals are how we are really, really expanding. And we're all going to take Alec and I are taking a gap year. Ashwin is we're all committed full time to pursuing this coming year, so we can put 110% into this because we're ready to expand it and we really, really believe in it. So we, as we said, not an hour lost, an hour gained with Curious Cardinals.
Yeah, an hour very well. I like that.
As well, I'd like to say that you were mentioning that it's a cultural thing that the schedules are always so packed. but I think it's very important to have time to think. It fosters creativity. And many of our classes, it doesn't end when the hour lesson or class ends. That stimulates projects, thought, and creativity, and curiosity. So students aren't just looking forward to finish the class to go on to the next thing. Maybe they'll create a project. Maybe they'll build something with the knowledge.
And
Yeah.
I absolutely get the value proposition. It's quite easy, and I think your own students are probably the best ambassadors to get new children on board to the program, because their own testimonials would be very, very powerful. Little video, 2-minute testimonials. We'll talk about it separately. Tell us this. So essentially, yours is a online platform, is it? It's completely done online, is it? There is no in-class, there is no live presence, because it's a lockdown baby, right? Your company is a lockdown, it was born in the lockdown, isn't it? And so you're completely on Zoom. That's it. So you're one company that helps Zoom have, what, 4x or something share value gain over the last year. And one of those companies that relies fully on Zoom. Is that true? Are you completely online?
Yeah, so we are completely online. And I think something we've seen with coronavirus is that it's not necessarily completely changing things, but it's accelerating existing trends. And so at the forefront of that, I think, is education. Education is very outdated. And with tools like Zoom and online learning, it's just giving us more resources to teach and impact more people from not just our immediate ecosystem.
And let me ask you one related question around it. I could see the value of what you're doing for all children, not just children who can afford $50 a class. And there's perhaps children in parts of California, parts of every state in the United States, even India, who just cannot afford that, who can benefit this. Is that something you guys think about? Is that something part of your business model that says, okay, we'll generate X amount of money to pay our allocated, all our costs, fixed costs, our variable costs, and then beyond that, we're willing to get more students, we'll offer a scholarship, this sort of thing. Is that in the thought process?
Yeah, I think, so I can differ, because I'm not involved in all like the monetary discussions. I could defer to like Alec or Audrey for that, but definitely, I think equity and accessibility are really key for us. So education, as we all understand, is a great way to generate opportunity and to provide social mobility to individuals. So actually, before Audrey and Alec approached me, I was going to teach at a public charter high school in New York City, and for inner city students coming from low-income backgrounds, communities of color, because I think I especially find that to be what we want to do. That's our objective as well. We want to make sure that we are having the most impact, and that the gift of education is reaching all different types of people. Of course, while we are like very much personalizing the types of lessons that we reach, I think we want to make sure that there is equity in our outlook. So we are currently having conversations about how we can onboard more kids who fit this type of demographic. If we need to look into like providing them Wi-Fi, if we need to look into like checking in on them and having like very constant outreach and making sure that they feel supported and that their particular specific needs are being met, we are really committed to doing that. That's honestly like my pull for my like full-time involvement within this group is one thing where I really want to push this group is to make sure that we're actively considering these things. Especially because like I mentioned before, education is just so important. I think that everybody on this webinar can agree there. So we want to make sure that we're reaching like the right groups there. And then the finances, I think that's something that we're trying to discuss, right? Because when you are working with the company and you really have these like very ambitious goals that you know that you have the capabilities to realize, and that your education and training at college have given you these skills to think critically and to solve these challenges. But then you also need to make sure that your finances add up to the dreams that you're putting in place.
So this past summer, I reached that education equity is something I value. I've always tutored pro bono, so this was a shift to be tutoring not pro bono starting in this spring. So going into the summer with launching our classes platform, it was an immediate priority for me to include students who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford the classes. So I reached out to an organization in New York City called Prep for Prep, which helps students from low-income backgrounds enter New York City private schools. And they loved our program, they love our classes, and we have 20 students from Prep for Prep in our classes this summer, pro bono. But as we said, we were committed to expanding and scaling all the classes and tutoring services we offer this fall. So we have a list of public schools, charter schools, programs like Prep for Prep to forge relationships with and get their students involved in our program. Alec is our CFO, so we're figuring out the finances, but we're also going to apply for grants and figure out other ways to raise money, perhaps encourage parents who can afford for their students to be in the classes to consider paying for not just their student, but another student. If we can, an ideal ratio is 50-50, 50 paying and 50 students who the other 50% wouldn't otherwise be able to afford the classes. We really, really value education equity, especially as we commit to this. And Ashwin's going to be ready to be the bulwark of the support system to offer these students the help they need.
Yeah, Audrey said ideally 50% pro bono. We're committed to doing 50% pro bono. I think we're working really hard on a business
financial aid program.
I think this thing called Teach for America comes to mind. I had a very close friend when I was your age, who was who had just finished university and gone to Teach for America for 2 years, and she was teaching in Teach for America, and then she also tutored some children on the side. I think those people in that ecosystem is quite large. I think they are very committed to teaching, and I could see a potential harmony, a partnership between you guys and them, where you get a large number of teachers who are willing to commit their time at a free or at a discounted price, because that is part of their purpose to reach out to children who are not so blessed to pay for these things and who can also benefit. So, free idea for you.
I think another thing we're leveraging that's extraordinarily special, and one of the only silver linings of shifting to the Zoom platform, is connection. We're speaking, it's in this webinar today, we have LA to India to New York to Pittsburgh in one setting, and that's extraordinarily special. So we're hoping to leverage that in our classroom settings. When we go full-time in the fall, we plan to have a map of the US, maybe a map of the world, and put a pin when we get a student in every new state. We want to expand. We want a class to have students from all over. I think that amplifies the classroom experience so much. It brings diversity of perspective and experience to our learning. And we thus far have already been doing that. We had Professor Randall Kennedy from Harvard Law School on class Tuesday. Yesterday, I had a lawyer from the Innocent Project and a client she defended who is an immigrant from Guatemala. And next week, we have a Stanford law professor. We have all these guest speakers coming that are really, really extraordinarily special for high school students to hear from. And meanwhile, the high school students are from all over the country. So we just want to build the diversity of geography in our student base as we continue.
So are you thinking about India?
Yes, we definitely would love to add students from India.
No, but tell us, how do you think about the Indian market? Have you given it some thought? I mean, definitely we are talking today, but have you given it some thought, applicability of your platform for children in India, how they could benefit from it? Have you given some thought, or will that be something you'll be thinking about going forward after this session?
I think it's definitely something that we've already been discussing. I was really excited to hear that. Audrey FaceTimed me. I was actually in California, and then she's like, Ashwin, there's this guy from India who we know, and he's gonna talk to us, and he's involved with the Times of India, and we're gonna broadcast this. Audrey, the market in India is huge. Indians, we love our education. We really see the value in education, and I think we can definitely try. I think there's definitely because we are US based, we've all went to schools like Stanford, right? We need to better understand like the exact nuances of the education system in India. I think even the things that I hear from my parents or their friends, they're like decades old too. And I'm sure that there have been some pretty pivotal changes in the past few years. But I know that I personally have I received a global scholarship from Cargill. So I know people who are at like these top engineering colleges within India. So the plan is to reach out to them to understand what the market looks like through their eyes. Also, I'm sure we would hope to have you as a resource as well. So we definitely do have like these plans in place. And as we commit to this full time, as we scale up, we're definitely going to have a lot of these conversations. But for those of you who are on this webinar, if you're interested, definitely come contact us. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to hear your thoughts as well.
I like that pitch. Okay, now to the hot seat. 3 of you in your hot seat, all right? Keep track of the time. 5 minutes. I want you guys to give an elevator pitch. Now, brand capital, we are talking to brand capital. We invest in companies. That's our bread and butter, right? We have a portfolio of more than 800 companies. And I think around 25 of them are in education, okay? So education is a very important part of our portfolio. And as you said, Ashwin, education is something very dear to every parent's heart. And it's a problem of every child in India, because at my family, if I didn't have more than 90 marks, I didn't have a seat at the table. It was that cruel, right? When I was a kid. I think things are a little better these days in India because we're a little less paranoid than it was when I was a kid, but still I hear horror stories, right? So it's still like that, right? We all are very focused, committed to education. It's very important. And as a result, we have probably a $12 billion edtech company. I mean, this is not small. This is huge. It's massive. And now they're making acquisitions around the world. And they'll probably be in America, serving American children soon enough, right? So it's an important part of our thesis to invest in education. It's a priority. So, and companies come and pitch us all day long. At any given time, we are probably evaluating a dozen education companies across the country. We've invested in 1 or 2 of the 25 are education tools companies. One company teaching children how to build computers, hardware, right? It's called Piper. A company is based in San Francisco, is Silicon Valley, and we invested in that company to enter the Indian market. Another company out of Germany, it's about integrating toys with learning. Based out of Germany, and we are investing in that company to bring that sort of training to this market. We invested in another company that teaches children how to build robotics, okay? They come to a few of them, and then they get these tools, and they learn how to put robots together. So there's all kinds of education companies we have invested in and we continue to do. So give us an elevator pitch, 5 minutes, clock's on.
Okay, I'll start. Are you looking to invest in the organization committed to revitalizing online learning as we know it? Or do you know parents who are looking for a meaningful teaching experience for your lower, middle, and high schoolers? Do they want their students to forge friendships with like-minded students from all over the country, all over the world, and find college students to be their mentors? Are your kids or friends of kids eager to find their passions or passionate about nurturing their current passions at the college level? Are they eager to hear from law professors, college professors, lawyers, doctors, and professionals in the field of their respective interests? Are you eager to be a part of Curious Cardinals' mission to revitalize online learning as we know it? If so, invest in Curious Cardinals, an educational program run and led by college students. We are committed to igniting passions in middle and high school students and fostering mentor-like relationships. Valuing the equity of education, we maintain partnerships with organizations like Prep for Prep, and we are going to expand that to ensure that no one faces financial barriers to participation, and are continuing to expand our financial program, as I said, as we pursue this full-time in the fall. We offer private tutoring and highly specialized classes, As education has shifted to the online platform, we hope to excite and engage our students, employing a diversity of mediums for homework, inviting guest speakers ranging from Harvard Law professor Randall Kennedy to the Dean of Berkeley Law School, Erin Chemerinsky, to doctors and other professionals in the respective fields, and bringing students together from all over the world to learn together. We also hope to equip them with the knowledge and empower them with the resources to go out and make positive changes in the world themselves. If you believe in that mission, if you want to see what we're going to do, if you believe in us scaling and offering this for our students and ensuring quality as we continue to expand, then sign your kids up, invest in us. We have an entire faith in this mission, and we are really excited to see what we can do.
All right. All right. I mean, tell us about your business model. How do you, I mean, if we are going to make an investment, we want to make money. We like to make 3-4 times our money. Tell us why we'll make that, Alec.
Yeah, let me tell you a little bit about the technology that we want to implement, because as Stanford students, we really want to be at the forefront of innovation. And I think that in the future, we'll be able to reverse engineer someone's education based on what their passions are and design a curriculum for each student unique to them. And so for me, for example, I think that in college, in high school, you're taught to think very much about one subject at a time. And you study really hard for the science test, and then you go to the history test. When I was studying for my pilot license, I realized that when you're focusing on one thing too much, you're doing something wrong. If you're focused only on altitude, you're not looking at traffic, you're not listening to a control tower. So I think we can build an educational platform, some sort of simulator that models something like that, where you're given tasks at all times, you're meeting with a mentor, daily mentors from around the world with very unique, diverse perspectives, uniting with students who have very different but similar, different backgrounds but similar interests and can work together.
How much money do you want? What valuation?
Yeah, so since we're such an early stage company right now, we aren't looking yet for funding, but
you want to invest.
But as
yet.
Not yet, because we really value our equity, and we don't want to we don't want money if we don't need it at the moment.
This is not an elevator pitch. This is an elevator tease. So you just want to tease us. You don't want to let us look at it as an investment, right?
No, we would love for people to invest in the coming month, but we want to give you a pitch. We want to tell you what our models are, our projected and finances are, and we're going to have that. As we said, we're a burgeoning company, so this is all in the process. This is in the making, and we're establishing the infrastructure to tell you right now, and to tell you confident as an investor that you should be really happy about your investment in Curious Cardinals.
And listen to this: in a month ago we launched, and since then, while running 2 internships at a time, all of us are doing our own thing. We have over 70 clients. We have over $30,000 in revenue, and it's been a part-time thing. So as soon as we go full-time, as soon as we invest in technology, I'm sure we can be bringing in millions of dollars a year.
Right. One last question, part of the elevator pitch. What can go wrong? What can go wrong? Have you thought about it? Have you thought about how to fix it, how to prepare for it? What can go wrong in this story?
I think I mentioned this a little earlier, but scalability in that we keep the best mentors and the best tutors as we expand. We really need to have streamlined an onboarding process and identify the most passionate, unique students. Because if we grow too quickly and just add mentors and teachers just for the sake of adding them, we won't keep the what makes us who we are, the curiosity, the passion, and that's integral to what our mission is.
And I've been hiring, recruiting, and it's a really long process, and we're very competitive. It's a little awkward for me as a rising sophomore to be rejecting master's degree students and seniors, but that's the standard. We really are specific. And right now with research and pursuing Curious Cardinals full time, I'm almost working 14 hours 6-7 days a week, because we're really trying to do everything we can. And the onboarding process, it's really, we're looking for the best of the best. They have an application they fill out, they have a resume, they interview me. If I like them, then they interview with Alec. And so this is not a fast process, and I don't think we should ever make it one, because the tutors and teachers we bring onto the team have to maintain the quality of teaching and engagement and excitement and faith in Curious Cardinals that we all share. So that, I think, just inevitably will be a longer process, but I think it's worth it long term to really care about the interviewing process and the onboarding process when they join our team.
Outstanding elevator pitch. You made everybody on this audience extremely curious, and I will remain curious until we get a chance to do something. Really wonderfully done. Listen, I have to tell this. I don't know if your dad's listening. I don't think this team needs the Goldman Sachs training program. I think you guys get a pass on that training program already. 14 hours a day when you're a sophomore in college. I think that gets a tick. Sophomore or junior? What are you?
Just finished my freshman year.
Freshman year. And you, Alec? Which year?
Yep, just finished my freshman year as well.
Ashwin's graduated, right?
Ashwin.
A month ago.
Good. Outstanding, guys. Okay, this is great. Now we'll do a few questions from the group, and I think Partha is on the tape already. Partha, why don't you start with your question?
Honestly, this is the first time in one of these sessions I don't want to ask a question, because it was very, like, I won't say entertaining, because that actually belittles your effort, but it's really energizing to listen to you guys. It was, I was thinking of when I was a student, if I had this kind of an option, it would have definitely been a much better option, because Sammy and I went to something that Ashwin, you are referring to, those engineering colleges in India called IITs, so, and people of our age taught us things which had nothing to do with education. So, of course, it happens in Stanford also, I'm sure. But I'm saying that, like, there's a little bit of peer influence in learning certainly can change the complexion of learning. But yeah, I mean, I have kind of half a question for you, which is, in case, do you also, in the future, are you also likely to counsel people who come to your system? Because counseling becomes a very significant part of this growing up. And I always believe that people of similar kind of age group counsel better than people of another generation and stuff like that. So do you think counseling would be a very significant part of your business?
Yes, thanks for asking. So we were having this discussion last night. So in undergrad, I was a resident assistant. As a junior year student, I was making sure that my first year, my neighbors in the dorm, my first year residents were doing okay. And I think I've worn this counseling hat within the clinic, within this residence. And I was saying that right now, with the transition to online learning, these students aren't getting this, they aren't getting the same support from their schools that they would have had before, especially if you're put into home environments that are particularly adverse compared to a school environment. You're gonna need extra support. So definitely, we are very, we're very interested within this field, and we're trying to see what, ultimately, we're not only providing the classes, but we want to have a support system of all of our student network. We want to be able to support them as well. And we are discussing having somebody, I think right now I volunteered myself, but onboarding other people as well, in terms of checking in with students and making sure not just that they're being supported and we're igniting passions through our classes, but to make sure that in order, if we really want this to be an investment and we want them to continue with it, we want them to have that mindset where they can do that. And they, like you said, they need this counseling, they need the support, and they need the mentorship as well.
So basically you are trying to rescue the kids from their parents.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, I will say, having graduated, I never expected to living at home full time, and I'm sure we can, as for the Indian audience, can relate to this. Like, there's like these levels of respect. There are just certain things that you can't say. And I'm like, I want my independence. Like, this is the American in me wanting my independence. But then my Indian parents are like, no, Ashwin, you have to value the family. You have to value the respect. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm like in my room a lot. So I definitely know that I really appreciate talking. Like, I FaceTimed Audrey so much. She's actually helping me with my med school applications right now, and she's been really amazing with that. So yeah, it's just great to have like an extra voice and extra support, or somebody who's just proactively reaching out. Like, even though like you might not be reaching out, getting that email saying, hey, like, are you okay? Is there anything we can help you with? I think that will be like very transformative for students, especially right now when you're not growing, you're not developing, you're not experiencing the same things virtually, because so much of education is not just about the content, but about learning things outside of the classroom as well with your peers. And just not having that right now, that's like what has inspired us to generate this program, like understanding what we can do to revitalize the online learning platform right now.
And to add on to that, I think with middle and high schoolers, they're most inclined to go to, say, a teacher after class to talk, coach, even a in-school therapist or nurse or any adult figure in a most organic setting. Perhaps they're not inclined, they're a little nervous to do so. So there's no real organic way to simulate that online. We just have to be proactive in ensuring our students know we are there for them. We're not there for them for that an hour that costs $50 only. It extends beyond that. And most often our tutors end up teaching way beyond the hour allotted for their time slot. When last week we had a 2-week every day 1 hour series, and the teacher ended up being on the phone with students for 30 to 90 minutes every day because they just wanted to talk to her. They wanted her advice, and they really looked up to her and valued her opinion. So I think it really requires making ourselves accessible and available to students, and that's a certain energy that we value in hiring new tutors, and reaching out, because as I said, there's a lot of moments that occur in real time that you can't simulate online, that after class discussion that we want to try as best as can to make in an alternative form.
But I actually half expected somebody of your age to tell me there could be a machine learning algorithm for that very soon.
That may be what Alex will do. That may be what Alex will do, the minor in computer science, right, Alex?
Exactly. I do think that technology can be very much integrated with this, but there's also, I think mentoring and having interactions with people is very important as well. And we can integrate both and be successful.
Super.
Superb.
Okay. So, thank you for that. I know we are at 5 minutes past 6. So I'll do 2 more questions. I have a bunch of questions from the group here. And some of the questions we've already discussed and answered in different discussions, so I'm not going to go through all of them. Here's one. Why did you choose tutoring as your venture? Because you're pre-med, you're in Spanish, languages, literature, and so forth, and you are in computer science, aeronautical engineering. You each have your vertical, and you defined that when you started in the university. Why did you choose tutoring over something that is, your subject that they've already picked when you started university? That's a question from Manish.
I think we can each answer this. For me, I'm actually passionate about pursuing law. I'm really passionate about criminal justice reform and immigration reform in the United States and human rights in the context of the law. So as I say now, I'm passionate about being a lawyer. I'm always thinking about the different spheres you can approach problems. I'm always thinking about the different spheres you can approach the criminal justice system in our country, or the immigration problem, whether that be through medicine or education or the law. And going through an educational standpoint has allowed me to reevaluate the ways in which I approach the problems that I care so deeply about in this world. And I think through teaching, there's something really special about making someone think about something in a way they have yet to do so, or making someone learn about something they've never heard before. To be the first person to plant a seed and instill that passion or idea in a child's mind is really, really special. And to teach someone about the topic you care so deeply about that they have no prior knowledge of is really extraordinary. And I think we all feel so strongly about our respective fields and feel so confident about our place pursuing these respective topics that to teach them is just a manifestation of that. I'll let Alec and Ashwin add on.
Alec?
Yeah. I think like going into next year, why am I taking a gap year to pursue this instead of taking classes in aerospace engineering online? And I think the reason for that is because I think, how can I learn the most and how can I make the biggest impact right now? And I think teaching is the best form of learning. That's number one. Starting something and being an entrepreneur, uncertainty is also a great way to learn. I'm learning so much about business and being creative as well by and things you would never learn in school by just starting a business. And I think that you're never too young to start that. And while I'm at it, we're inspiring kids and making a big impact. So why not?
Fabulous. Fabulous. Ashwin?
Yeah, and then for me, I think, first of all, educate. While I do have like my interest in pursuing a career in health, I think if we look at health disparities and while they occur, there's so much underlying like socioeconomic causes and structural inequalities. And time and time again, if you look at if you hear stories of how people are leaving these situations, are able to have more agency and social mobility, it is through education. And it's not just teaching them a class, it's teaching them a class and inspiring them and giving them a way forward, paving a path for them where they see, hey, this is what I want to do in life. And then when the times are hard, you are going to put your 150% into reaching your goal. And that's what education can do for these individuals. So that's, I think for me, I see like a downstream effect, especially as we work with partners in Pratt, for example, in terms of how it can help uplift communities and also improve their health circumstances. Additionally, I think the common thread that all three of us have is that we are scholars. We're scholars at a reputed university. And the way we got to this university was exactly what we're doing now. Sharing our passions with people, inspiring others, and really being able to articulate exactly why we care about the things that we do. And Curious Cardinals is that platform where we're able to do this and we're able to spread these messages to a bunch of the next minds, right? They're just a few years right after us, but ideally these would be these people who are going to the same schools and accomplishing like their own feats. So I think that in that regard too, we're creating new lawyers, we're creating new doctors, we're creating new aerospace engineers as well by showing people what role models look like.
And we're also getting people like, for me to have gotten 2 law professors, and I just got the Dean of Berkeley to come speak to my Intro to Law class, which is my next class, and he was deemed the most influential legal scholar in our country. That's an incredible opportunity for me. So I'm learning from him. The students are learning from me. It's such a shared learning experience, and we're all in it together in a really special way. And I think that, as we said, there's these spheres we're each individually interested in, especially inequality and injustice in so many different ways. And education is kind of an underlying factor, a denominator through all of these to help get everyone involved in different ways, because you can do a number of things. If I want to work on criminal justice, I can be a lawyer, I can be an educator, I can do various other things. And we're kind of learning how education is the common denominator.
No, clearly I see no misalignment between what you went to school for and what you're learning and what you're doing here. In fact, contraire, I see good alignment about how you've thought through and how you're actually leveraging a lot more for yourselves, not just the economic value, for yourselves towards your own education, completing your education in whatever your chosen fields are. You're probably going to be better graduates of computer science or aeronautic engineering or Spanish or pre-med or whatever it is by going through this. And I clearly see that. Guys, this has been one of the best capital conversations that I've attended, participated in. You guys are a huge ball of fire. I love it. I love the energy. I love the passion. the purpose. And listen, nothing is hidden. It's all in front of us. Thanks to the three of you for taking time so early in the morning. For you, Alec, and the East Coast as well. It's early in the morning. Extremely well-deserved success you have enjoyed so far. And I wish you all the continued success. We should stay in touch. Delighted that you could join. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us, Sammy. It was such a wonderful experience to talk with you guys. Thank you for making this possible.
Thank you very much. It was very, very interesting to listen to you guys. Wonderful. All the best to all of you.
Thank you. All the best.